Train Lover 16. The train, for its size, is the fastest vehicle on land, and the locomotives of Redcliff Loco Yard are the power behind the stations, industries and train lines that make up the well-renowned Redcliff and Guineabridge Railway. This is Redcliff Railway Tales. The Redcliff and Guineabridge Railway's traffic levels were at an all-time high. Despite a number of incidents over the past few years, most notably the Guineabridge Junction fire, the population of the surrounding area knew that the railway was very reliable, and the engines were friendly and welcoming, making it extremely popular with passengers, freight contractors and tourists alike. But now, Mr. Eric wanted to expand his railway service. Ever since he became the R&GR's owner and general manager, he'd had a dream of extending the railway, an extension which would expand the railway to 3 times its size and ultimately connect the town of Heychester to the network. Extending the railway there was very personal to Mr. Eric, as Heychester was where his grandparents lived. Despite being a decent-sized town, Heychester hadn't had any rail access since its old railway line had been closed under Dr. Beeching's cuts. But now, the roads and buses in and around the town were extremely congested, giving Mr. Eric perfect reasoning to go through with his planned extension. And on the day our story starts, his career-long dream was at long last about to come true. Come in.
Sir, I have some insanely good news. After reviewing our monetary assets all night, I've concluded that we can finally afford the extension. Not only that, but at yesterday's meeting, both councils approved our proposed route and granted us the planning permission.
So, this is it? After 10 years of running this railway, it's finally happening?
Yes, it is, sir. Congratulations!
Thank you so much, Carl! I must inform the engines immediately. Crack out the alcohol for us and the staff while I'm out, please. Today we celebrate, and tomorrow we start construction.
Of course, sir, and you're most welcome.
Mr. Eric ran the fastest he ever had down to the loco yard. Good morning, everyone. I have some very exciting news to share with you all. The Heychester extension is finally happening. We'll be beginning construction tomorrow. The extension will be our most ambitious, yet surely rewarding challenge yet. It will have 6 new stations, 3 tunnels, a long and steep incline, a massive bridge, and branch lines to serve the Blue Hive slate mine and Darthurst sorting office. It'll really help out the people and industries of the towns and villages by taking much of the traffic off the crowded roads and bring in even more revenue for us and them.
My goodness, it's going to be a lot of work for us to build it. Not to mention, we have a railway to run at the same time.
Well, Freddie, I have been preparing for the extension ever since I became controller of this railway. Why do you think I have so many engines now? But even so, all of you won't be enough. So to compensate, I've purchased 4 new engines to help out with the construction and running of our soon-to-be-expanded network. 3 of them will arrive today, but the 4th has unfortunately been delayed leaving his country, so won't be arriving for a while. But in the meantime, you all know the drill. Make them feel welcome. Oh, speak of the devil, here they come. The 3 engines pulled up behind each other. Everyone, in ascending order, this is Linda, Sheila, and Frank.
Nice to meet you all too.
Not bad for a locomotive yard on first impression.
Hello everyone, I can't wait to get started.
Welcome to the Redcliff and Guineabridge Railway, you 3. I expect you all want a rest after your long journey. As such, you won't be starting work until this afternoon. Linda, Sheila, and Frank soon reversed into their sidings. But Sheila turned out to be hard to please. She shuddered at her siding.
This is dreadfully smelly. Engines should have the right to always rest in high-quality sheds and sidings. Only the best is ever good enough for me.
So David showed her to the rolling stock yard.
This is better, but whatever is that rubbish?
The rubbish turned out to be the coaches and wagons, who were most offended.
We won't stay here to be insulted.
Neither will we! Brian and Emma had to take them all away, and the other engines had to spend half the day soothing their hurt feelings while on their runs. Later, at around 5 o'clock that evening, Frank pulled into Redcliff Station to start his first run on the railway. It was rush hour, and knowing that the passengers wanted to get home as soon as possible, he insisted on filling his coaches to capacity.
Go right inside. There's plenty of room for you all. Are you sure you want to carry this many people on board, Frank? The more the merrier, Carl. After all, they do want to get home, and if they don't have to wait to the next train, they'll be home sooner. Point taken, but don't you think you're overcrowding your train? It may be too heavy for you, and too uncomfortable for the commuters. Don't worry about it. I did this sort of thing on my old railway, and the commuters always said I was the most efficient train. Don't you mean efficient? That's what I said, efficient. Okay, please, just be careful. I'm always careful, Carl. Well, if you say so, I'll see you later. Likewise. Have a nice evening. Right, full speed ahead, and I'll be back before they know it.
But at the Y, halfway between Galehurst and Guineabridge Junction, there was trouble. Frank had no idea that Dennis was about to come onto his line, and he shot past him, almost making him jump out of his bodywork.
Hi, watch where you're going, Frank.
Sorry, but it's you who should look where you're going. I'm in a hurry.
What? You nearly ran me right off the tracks.
Can't stop to argue over whose fault it was. Got to go.
Well, he's quite fast physically, but not mentally.
Meanwhile, at Redcliff Station, Linda was unsatisfied with the length of the train Brian had given her.
Oh, come on, Brian. You can give me more wagons than this.
I'm afraid I can't. The standard procedure for shunting trains to most new engines is that we can't give them overly long trains until they've proven they can pull them without any problems.
But I can pull longer trains than this. Please go back and get me more wagons.
I'm sorry, Linda. Mr. X orders.
Fine. I guess I'll be on my way then. See you later.
And Linda grumbled away.
These These idiots have no confidence in me. I'm sure that I'm more capable than I look.
The next day was the groundbreaking day for the extension's construction. Dora and the Cranes were waiting to set off to Guineabridge Junction to help.
Right, Felix should be ready to be loaded onto your flat wagon as soon as he arrives.
Who's Felix?
Oh, were you not told? He's a front loader. He's one of 2 construction vehicles that Mr. Eric hired from the Redcliff Builders' Yard to help us build the extension. Ah, that's him.
Felix drove up alongside the flat wagon. Hello there, I'm really eager to start work. I've never held with a railway project before, let alone travel by train.
Nice to meet you too, Felix. I'm sure you'll love travelling with us. Let's get you loaded up then.
Yeah, all aboard, Felix.
Within minutes, Colin and Caitlin had loaded Felix onto the flat wagon. As soon as the yard worker had made sure he was secured, they set off. Felix turned out to be an energetic chatterbox. He talked and talked about how much he was enjoying the journey and happy for the railway finally getting its extension, all the way. Dora and the Cranes took a liking to Felix, but were half relieved that he finally stopped talking when they arrived. Sir Callum was on platform 2, with what looked like a large grill on rails.
Oh my god, Sir Callum! Is that a tunnel boring machine?
It is indeed, Dora.
Never thought I'd get to see one. You lucky bugger, getting the first go with it.
Well, thank you, Dora, but I don't really need to feel proud of doing something like this. I've pulled the royal train before, you know.
Wow, really? You never told me that.
Well, why else do you think I have the title of Sir? The Queen was so impressed with how fast and smoothly I pulled her train that she knighted me, and since then, I've stuck with it ever since.
Well, you learn something new every day.
Indeed, but we're going off topic. It's about time we broke ground on this extension. George? Alright, here goes. And so began construction on the Heychester extension. Three months later, the first phase was halfway complete. 2 of the tunnels were now complete, as was the first intermediate station, Shenrook, and the track had now been laid up to where Blue Hythe, the second intermediate station, was going to be. But that night, in the loco yard, a man who was working for the same man who'd sabotaged the Yalehurst points the previous Christmas slipped in while all the engines were asleep and crept up to Peter. He began to tamper with his fuel tank, draining out his normal fuel and replacing it with a fuel with a lower octane rating. This would cause Peter's engine to knock as he tried to work, which would cause a lot of trouble for him. The next day at Blue Hive, Felix was happily and enthusiastically working, loading Linda's train with soil from the preparation for the station's foundations. There you are, Linda, all loaded and ready to go.
Not quite, Felix. I'm not leaving till Vanessa gives me the all clear.
Who's Vanessa?
My personal conductor and best friend. I never do any job without her.
Indeed. I think we're good to go, Linda.
Thanks, Vanessa.
Alright, but please be careful with that heavy train of yours. You could easily become a runaway with it.
Why on earth would that happen?
Because these wagons can and will play tricks on you. They're some of the worst behaved in the country.
Don't be silly. You worry too much, David. Like Dora.
Linda tried to start off, but as David had warned, the wagons were in a mischievous mood and held her back, though in response she pulled a lot harder and was able to slowly but surely get them moving. David anxiously watched Linda and her train clatter into Blue Hive Tunnel. He could sense that she'd be in trouble soon. Linda's run went completely smoothly all the way back down the extension, but that began to change when she started to climb the Bexgate flyover. The wagons held her back even harder as she tried to get them over.
Oh, for God's sake, stop holding me back!
Alright, your wish is our command. As Linda struggled over the top, the wagons pushed her down the other side to her great surprise. She and Vanessa did their best to slow the surging train down, but to little success. Brakes screeching like eagles, the train continued to hurtle towards Redcliff. Dora heard the ear-splitting noise and immediately knew something was wrong. As Linda came into view, Dora could see that the repeat of a situation she'd been in herself was unfolding. She didn't want Linda to be flipped over off the tracks by buffers like she had, so she bravely raced out in front of her, let her make contact with her, and slammed on her brakes. With Dora's help, the train came to a stop very quickly.
Oh, thank you, Dora.
No problem, Linda. But it seems like you had too heavy of a train, so don't take as many wagons and don't have them as fully loaded next time.
Don't be silly, Dora. This train was a perfect weight for me. I just wasn't prepared for the wretched behavior of these wagons today. I'll do a better job at keeping them in check next time.
All right, if you insist.
Meanwhile, Frank was out speeding down the tracks again, enjoying himself. But he wasn't really paying attention to the tracks ahead again. Jacob was approaching the Y with a train of supermarkets stopped.
Frank, slow down! You're gonna knock my train off the tracks!
Frank did slow down, but not enough. Jacob sped up and tried to get the train out of the way in time, but was only just unable to, and Frank rammed right into the last two wagons, throwing boxes everywhere.
Yeah. Why do some of my co-workers have to be so infuriating to work with? I swear, that boy ain't right.
Peter was unfortunately having even worse luck. His engine knocking had been progressively worsening throughout the day.
Oh my god, this smoke! Why is my engine acting like this today?
Suddenly, Peter felt a strong burning sensation in his engine, and flames shot out of his exhaust.
Ow! What the hell's going on?
Then it happened. Peter's engine exploded.
Oh my god! I'm burning! Oh, the pain!
His conductor immediately radioed for the rescue train. Within seconds, Dora's Morse code receiver started beeping.
Now who needs the rescue train? Jesus Christ! Peter's engine exploded! Looks like we're gonna need the firefighting segment.
All prisoners correct, Dora.
Right, let's go.
Meanwhile, Frank had arrived at Guineabridge Junction. Sheila was waiting for him, looking very annoyed.
Frank, you absolute clot! Your stupidity in crashing Jacob's train off the tracks has delayed me. You know full well how much I hate being behind schedule.
I'm sorry, Sheila. I don't really know what else to say.
That's all you can say? Sorry? Well, I don't think you mean it. If you were truly sorry, you wouldn't be such a reckless dumbass and cause such clumsy accidents in the first place.
That's enough, Sheila. Making Frank feel worse will not help this situation.
Thank you. I really hate being made to feel like an idiot.
Well, you're made to feel like an idiot because you are an idiot.
Sheila, I said that's enough. Anyway, Frank, I radioed for the rescue train, as you told me to, but it turns out it's already out. Peter's engine exploded and he's on fire, but they'll come and clean up the mess as soon as they've dealt with that.
What? Christ on a bike! Now I'm going to be even more late!
Very soon, the rescue train arrived at where Peter had caught fire.
Okay, everyone, action stations.
Please hurry. I feel like I'm melting.
You're not melting, Peter, don't worry. But we'll have you extinguished in no time. Water on, guys!
Seconds later, the water was spraying over Peter. A cool feeling of relief spread through him from buffers to buffers.
Alright, the fire seems to be out. Water off.
Thank you, Dora. I would have preferred not to be wet right now, but I'd prefer being wet over burning any day.
You're most welcome, Peter.
All the while, Sheila was still ranting about running late. Sheila, why don't you just think of others for a change, instead of only you and your passengers? Peter's life is at risk, you know. Surely that's more important than you being on time.
He is not my problem. This incompetent railway probably gave him bad fuel. And besides, I wouldn't be delayed by this as well if a mentally slow seagull poo-painted wedge hadn't crashed into a freight train.
Oh, will you shut your sodding gob already, you selfish, arrogant bitch!
How dare you! That's it! I'm not waiting any longer, especially not with you poo-heads. I'm out of here.
Before Frank and his conductor could say anything else, Sheila closed her doors and sped out of the station. She took the line via Raynham City, but this was the same line Peter and Dora were on.
Right, let's get you back to the loco yard. Then me and the cranes are off to clear up.
Before she could finish, there was a loud crash. Sheila had collided with the back of Peter's train and knocked the last two wagons off the tracks. Who's the reckless dumbass now, Sheila? Sheila was exasperated and very embarrassed. By the time night had fallen, Peter had been loaded onto a flat wagon and Freddie was about to take him to Crew Works to have a new engine fitted and his bodywork repaired. Before they set off, though, Mr. Eric came to see him. I'm very sorry this happened to you, Peter. I promise we'll find the culprit and have justice served to them.
Thank you so much, sir. I'm just glad that the others won't have to cover my jobs. What with that fourth new engine coming very soon?
Indeed. Still, we're all really going to miss you.
As I am, we'd best be going now.
Alright, we'll see you in a week or so, Peter. Mr. Eric watched Freddie and Peter set off. Then he turned to Linda, Sheila and Frank. Now, as for you three, today it's become evident that you all have major flaws that need to be addressed. Linda, you have far too much confidence in yourself. You think you're a lot more capable than you actually are, in a worrying way. You put yourself and others in danger today by taking so much soil and not listening to David's advice.
I don't really know what to say, sir. I mean, I'm sorry if I caused this railway any danger, but I honestly am more capable than you all give me credit for. I pulled as heavy trains as I did today on my old railway. But given the rotten behavior of this railway's wagons, I will make sure to take lighter trains in the future.
Please make sure you do. Now, Frank, you mean very well and have a big heart, but you're quite clumsy and absent-minded, to the point where it's also now becoming a safety issue.
I don't know what to tell you either, sir. I really don't want to be so clumsy and stupid, but I just can't help it.
And you never will. You're the most incompetent and hopeless engine I've ever known.
Quiet! Sheila, you've been the absolute worst. Not only do you have very unreasonably high standards and expectations for everyone and everything, but you are also very rude and disrespectful to those who don't meet your standards, which is pretty much everyone. And setting off when you knew the line wasn't clear? That was beyond irresponsible and dangerous. I will not tolerate this attitude of yours. You have to learn to stop being so pernickety and not act like such an entitled Karen.
Entitled Karen, am I? Ugh! I've never been so insulted by one of my own managers in all my life. I certainly won't be changing my attitude for such an incompetent and disrespectful railway.
Sheila, I will not argue with you. Either your attitude changes or I send you packing. Sheila said no more. She was clearly not going to win against Mr. Eric. Though it would be a long time before Sheila finally learned sense, Linda and Frank would slowly but surely begin to work on fixing their flaws after that night. But those are stories for another day. Oh, Mr. Eric, you're invaluable. You run so many trains to catch and soon there will be more. Your railway's unlike any other, so I'll be selling my car. Oh, Mr. Eric, what a fine man you are. Oh, Mr. Eric, you're invaluable. You run so many trains to catch and soon there will be more. Your railway's unlike any other, so I'll be selling my car. Oh, Mr. Eric, what a fine man you are.